Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are stepping into a reality that feels, well, uncomfortably close to home, but with one massive, terrifying alteration.
A huge one. I mean, usually when we talk about faith, it's all subjective. You believe or you don't.
Right, it's a choice.
Yeah.
But the source material we're breaking down today, the story of Neil Fisk, it just throws that entire idea out the window.
It creates a world where the metaphysical is, well, it's physical. In this reality, God, heaven, hell. They aren't ideas for philosophers to debate. They are indisputable scientific facts.
You can measure them, like gravity.
Exactly. And you'd think, okay, problem solved, right? No more religious wars, no more existential dread.
But that's the twist. Knowing for a fact that God exists doesn't actually make living with him any easier. It makes it infinitely more complicated.
Because God isn't a subtle influence here. He's an active hazard. The whole premise hinges on these angelic visitations.
And these are not what you picture. We're not talking about a gentle figure at the foot of your bed.
No. We're talking about high-energy physics events. The sources describe them as being pretty much indistinguishable from, say, a tornado or a Category 5 hurricane.
So you get all the disruption, the noise, the lightning, the property damage. And the kicker is, when an angel touches down, two things happen at once: miracles and casualties.
That's the brutal calculus of this universe. A chaotic mix of divine grace and, physical trauma, and they track it. They literally have a scorecard on the news.
Imagine seeing that on the ticker tape downtown today. 4 miracle cures, 8 fatalities.
Cancer cured, spinal cord regenerated, also 8 people dead from flying debris.
Which is exactly where we meet our protagonist, Neil Fisk. He's the guy who ends up on the wrong side of that ledger.
Yeah, Neil is just a regular guy. He's not particularly devout, not a rebel. And the inciting incident is just so tragic in its randomness. The angel Nathanael descends on a downtown shopping district.
And it creates this thing, a curtain of flame, which shatters a storefront window.
And Neil's wife, Sarah, is sitting right there. She's hit by the glass. She bleeds to death on the floor.
It's a freak accident, but it's caused by a divine entity. And here's the horror of it. In our world, you mourn. You hope she's in a better place.
Here, the onlookers watch. They literally see her soul ascend to heaven.
It's a confirmed fact. Sarah Fisk made it. And for most people, that would be the ultimate comfort, right? She's safe.
But for Neil, this is the beginning of a nightmare. Because the rules are very, very specific about who gets into heaven.
It's not about being a good person.
Nope. You have to genuinely, truly love God. And Neil does not love God.
So he's left with this absolute certainty. His wife is in place A, and he, as he is destined for place B. He is separated from her forever.
Unless he can force himself to love the very being that just killed her.
That's just such a messed up conflict. It's like being told you have to fall in love with a hurricane that just destroyed your home if you ever want to see your family again.
It's the ultimate emotional trap. And to really get Neil, you have to look at his history. He was born with a condition, proximal femoral focal deficiency.
So his left thigh is shorter and rotated. A physical disability.
In our world, that's just biology. Bad luck. But in a world where God is visibly active, it becomes a stigma. People look at him and think, well, God must have done that for a reason.
They treat him like he's been marked, judged.
Exactly. And then there's the other side of the coin, hell. We have to talk about hell in this story. It's not fire and brimstone.
No, it's something much quieter and maybe even more chilling.
I think so. Hell is just the permanent absence of God. And like everything else, it's visible. Sometimes the ground becomes transparent in these manifestations. You can just look down and see it.
You can see the people who didn't make it.
You can. And they aren't burning. They're just living in a gray, shadowy version of our world. And before Sarah died, Neil actually thought that sounded okay.
He preferred it, right? He saw it as a place without divine interference.
Exactly. No angels breaking windows, just physics. But now the equation has completely changed. Hell doesn't just mean no God anymore.
It means no Sarah.
And that breaks him. So he has to get to heaven. He tries the support group route.
Which goes about as well as you'd expect. He's in there with the thankful group.
Oh, it's awful. Imagine Neil grieving, sitting next to a guy who's just thrilled because the same angel that killed his wife also cured his arthritis.
I would lose my mind. Yay for your knee, so sorry about my wife.
He can't stand it, obviously. So he tries the angry group, people who lost loved ones and hate God. And he fits in there for a while.
But then he has this dark realization about himself.
Yeah, a really dark epiphany. He realizes that if he could choose, if Sarah could be in hell with him or in heaven without him, he would pick hell together.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's selfish, but it's also incredibly human. He'd rather she be exiled than be separated from him.
But that's a theological deal breaker. You can't put your wife above God, so his only option is to pull himself up.
So he goes on this spiritual shopping spree, tries to find a hack. He talks to a guy named Benny Vasquez.
Benny is an intense character. He was hit by a shaft of heaven's light. It literally erased his eyes, just smooth skin over the sockets.
But he's not traumatized. He's blissful. He
Yeah.
talks about seeing infinite beauty.
Which is not helpful for Neil. It's just vague poetry. So he swings the other way, to the humanists. They see God as a tyrant and they choose hell as an act of defiance.
That appeals to his rational side,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get him to Sarah.
Then he talks to Sarah's parents, and this is where it gets really dark.
They blame him.
They look him in the eye and say, God killed Sarah to send you a message because you weren't devout enough.
That is monstrous.
It is. But
Yeah.
here's the crazy part. Neil almost likes that explanation.
Why on earth would he like that?
Because if it's a punishment, there's a system, there are rules. It means God is paying attention to him. The alternative, that Sarah was just random collateral damage. That's so much worse.
We'd rather be the villain in a story than just an extra who gets crushed by a falling prop.
A profound point. But even that guilt doesn't generate love, so he's out of options. And that's when he finds the loophole. The light seekers.
The brute force method.
The brute force method. If you look directly into heaven's light, the beam an angel gives off, it forces your soul to love God. Instantly.
It's a spiritual override switch. It just rewrites your personality.
Pretty much divine brainwashing, you could call it. But the result is guaranteed. You see the light, you love God, you get into heaven.
There has to be a catch.
The mortality rate, you're chasing tornadoes and floods to get close enough. Most people die trying. And if you die while chasing the light, but before you see it, you go straight to hell.
High risk, infinite reward. Neil decides this is it.
He buys a reinforced truck and heads for a holy site in the desert. And this is where the story opens up, and we meet two other people, Janice Riley and Ethan Mead.
Janice's story is heartbreaking. She was a celebrity motivational speaker.
She was born without legs. She built her entire identity around it, preaching that her disability was a divine gift, a strength. She was successful, content.
And then God gives her a miracle she never asked for.
An angel Rashiel descends, and her legs are miraculously restored.
Which should be a blessing, but for her it's a crisis.
It destroys her identity. Her credibility is gone. She feels guilty. She thinks maybe it's a punishment for being proud.
So she goes to the same desert site to try and, give the legs back?
To return the miracle, exactly. And then there's Ethan. He's our observer, a quiet librarian, just looking for a sign.
Any sign.
Right. He was at the same visitation as Janice, but nothing happened to him. He felt ignored. But he saw a crack in the pavement made by the angel, and he just decided to follow it.
And led him to Janice.
Yep. So he becomes her companion, convinced his destiny is tied to hers. So these three all end up in the same desolate, crater-filled desert.
Neil the desperate husband, Janice the reluctant miracle, and Ethan the seeker.
The stage is set. Neil arrives in his truck. They try to talk him out of it, call it suicide.
But he's past the point of no return. The hunger to be with Sarah is all that's driving him. And then the angel Barakiel arrives.
And it's not subtle. It's a massive, violent lightning storm. Neil just floors it, driving straight into the heart of the chaos.
The description is just sensory overload, deafening sound, constant lightning.
He's chasing this mass of silver flames that is the angel, but he gets transfixed. He takes his eyes off the road for a second.
And he crashes.
Crashes hard into a boulder. He's pinned, bleeding out. He knows he's failed.
He's dying. He hasn't seen the light. He knows he's going to hell.
He's apologizing to Sarah. In his mind, it's over. But Janice, she runs toward the wreck to help him.
And this is where the irony just becomes unbearable.
A shaft of heaven's light comes down from the angel, and it misses Neil. It hits Janice.
The one person who didn't want it gets the ultimate dose of grace.
She's knocked down. Her face is erased, just like Benny Vasquez. She's instantly transformed into this perfectly devout being.
And Neil is lying there bleeding, watching this. He's just filled with bitterness. He's thinking God wasted another miracle on her. He hates God more than ever in that moment.
And then
The light hits him.
the light hits him. At the very last second, it's described like 1,000 needles entering his soul. It unmakes his eyes, and the revelation happens.
This is the part I really struggled with. How does it feel? Is he just a puppet now?
It doesn't feel forced to him. The light reveals the reason for everything. He's filled with this absolute, unconditional love. And listen to this. He loves God because of the pain. He loves God because Sarah died. He loves God because he is suffering.
He sees the suffering as a gift.
He understands it all as an expression of God, and so it's all lovable. He dies in a state of perfect, euphoric devotion. By every rule they've laid out, he is worthy of salvation.
So he did it. He won. He gets to go to heaven and be with Sarah.
Well, this is where the story just pulls the rug out from under you. It's
Right.
devastating.
Oh, no.
God sends Neil to hell anyway.
Wait, what? But he loved God. He saw the light. You said he was worthy.
He was. Perfectly devout. And God sent him to hell regardless.
Why?
Yeah.
That breaks the rules.
And the story gives no reason. That is the entire point. Ethan, the librarian, sees it all. He sees Neil's soul ascend, glowing, and then just descend into the earth, into hell.
That feels so arbitrary, so cruel.
It is. So Janice, now Eyeless, goes back to preaching about the unbearable beauty of creation. She's found her conviction.
And Ethan, the guy who wanted a sign, he certainly got one.
He becomes a preacher, too. But his message is terrifying. He builds his entire theology on Neil's fate. He tells people, God is not just. God is not kind. God is not merciful.
That's a tough sermon.
Yeah.
God is unfair. Now let's pass the collection plate.
But here's his conclusion. You must love him anyway. Ethan argues that if you love God expecting a reward like salvation, it isn't true love. It's a transaction.
Transactional faith, that's the core idea.
That's it. True devotion is loving God knowing he might crush you and never look back. Loving the Creator just because he is the Creator, not because he's good to you.
So,
Oh.
what about Neil? What is his existence in hell like?
The source material describes it, and it's haunting. He has his legs and his eyes back, but he is in constant, unending anguish.
From what? Torture.
No! His anguish comes from his new, acute awareness of God's absence. The light rewired him to find God in everything, and now he is in the one place where God is nowhere.
He is biologically compelled to love something that isn't there.
And he still loves Sarah, knowing he will never see her. He knows God does not love him back. There is no hope.
And yet.
And yet he still loves God, despite the pain, the separation, the lack of reciprocity. That he loves God. And the story argues that what Neil is doing in hell, is the only true form of devotion, love that requires absolutely nothing in return.
It's a complete subversion of the story of Job. In Job, you suffer, you keep the faith, you get rewarded.
Right. You get your cattle back. But here, the faith is achieved, perfection is reached, and the reward is purposefully withheld. It suggests that if you're loving God to get into heaven, you aren't loving God, you're just buying a ticket.
It forces you to ask a really uncomfortable question. If you knew for a fact that being a good person would result in zero reward, that it would actually end in suffering, would you still do it?
That's the heart of it. This story separates faith from the trust that things will work out. And it asks, is that love still valid?
It's the difference between loving someone because of how they treat you and loving them just because they are. Neil is the only one who loves God unconditionally because he has nothing to gain.
It's a terrifying kind of purity. It suggests true faith can only exist in hell because anywhere else you're being rewarded.
It really makes you look at your own motivations. Are we just investing in good karma? Trying to keep the cosmic score in our favor?
So, on that cheerful note, we should probably wrap up this deep dive. That is a lot to think about.
It certainly is.
So think about that next time you do something good and expect a little pat on the back from the universe. Ask yourself, would I do this even if the universe punished me for it?
The answer might surprise you. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.